Hello and welcome to another episode of Game Theory, the #1 DraftKings prep show in all of the land. I'm your host Monk, aka the Monk Petition, and in this week's episode, we're going to be breaking down all 12 fights now from a DFS perspective happening at UFC Vegas 65, headlined by Sergey, Spivak, and Derrick Lewis. Guys, be sure to hit that like, hit the subscribe, stick around for CM Monk's picks at the end, and let's get right into it. First fight of the night, guys. It is Natalia Silva going against Bleda. I already talked about two of these fights before I realized my mic wasn't connected properly, so I'm going to try to blaze through this. Also, my allergies have completely overcome me, so if my right eye is a bit watery and I'm sneezing and muting, and that's why, guys. It's not a fun day for to have allergies up here. That is for sure. First fight. Natalia Silva going against Bleda. Bleda is a DWCS alum, $7,300 for her. Silva is $8,900. She did make the optimal lineup against Jasmine Jasudavicius last time. Nice decision there, landed almost 100 strikes. Meanwhile, Bleda scored almost 105 in her win. 5 points a minute, 104.18 is what she scored. Guys, this one is high variance. I don't know. I'm picking Silva to win, but this is a very high variance women's flyweight fight. Bleda only has 6 professional fights, while Silva has 19. Silva is 1-0 in the UFC, and Bleda, like I said, did win her Dana White Contender Series fight. Silva allowed only 1.38 points per minute to Jasmine Jasudavicius, who looked completely lost in that fight. Silva did land a bunch of takedown and control time. This is high variance, guys. I'm picking Silva, like I said, but yeah, here are my projections. And yeah, this show, if you don't know, it's kind of like, I'm just going to scroll through stats and whatnot while I briefly talk about each fight and what my pick is. If you guys want to, feel free to pause it at any time. Check out the stats more in depth. Otherwise, in the description below, you can you can click the link rather, to my Patreon account, where I have all comprehensive stats, all Dana White all DFS stats, a ton of advanced metrics, and then a betting stat as well, or a betting sheet as well. So guys, for just a couple bucks a month, you can have access to all of that. Link is in the description below, and you will have stats for days. I'm picking Silva in this one, high variance. I'm probably going to have like 15-20% of each, because who knows what could happen. And Bleda at 7,300, if she wins, that is going to be, I'll probably have more Teresa actually, because of the price. Natalia Silva at 8,900 seems crazy. She only scored 85 against Jasmine. I mean, if she finishes Bleda early, then you're going to get a triple-digit score. But other than that, I really don't see it. So I'm picking Silva, but I will be a little bit cautious when it comes to DraftKings. Next fight, Fernie Garcia going against Brady Hiestand. I mean, this fight is a meme fight. Fernie Garcia is 7,700. He's $900 cheaper than he was when he fought Journey Newsom and lost. He scored 1 point a minute in that fight. He's landed 37 strikes in 15 minutes, barely over 2 per minute, 2.47 actually. Was taken down twice, controlled for almost 5%. Yeah, I'm not interested. No offense to Journey Newsom here, but I'm not picking a guy that lost really to Journey Newsom. He scored 1 point a minute. It's not that he lost to him, although it is. It's how he lost to him. He scored one. He didn't do anything. Nothing. Journey scored 65 points in that fight. Absolutely ridiculous. Meanwhile, Brady Hiestand, I mean, he lost to Ricky Turcios over a year ago, but he scored well, 5.23 a minute, gave up 6 points a minute. He's $1,000 more expensive than he was a year ago. Does have a ton of takedown and control time points, 2.92 per minute, which is just what we're looking for. Strength of schedule, you want these numbers to be about 70. Anything over that is pretty good. Fernie Garcia is under in every category, pretty much, low 60s. Brady Hiestand, 42, 50 strength of schedule. His strength of victory in his last 5 is 7 out of 100. 7. Strength of defeat is 71. This might be the lowest strength of victory I've ever seen. Maybe Tresean Gore a fight or two ago, but 7.41 is very, very bad, guys. Very bad. The guys he's fought in his last 5 are cans, and the guys that they've beat in their last 5 are super cans. Here are my projections. Aggregate professional finishing rate, only 25% of their losses are finishes. Guys, I wish I could avoid this fight as a whole, but I'm going to be fading Garcia here and picking Hiestand. If Hiestand wins, even by decision, he could land 8 takedowns, 9. I mean, he's going to score over 100 points. His chances to score triple digits are pretty high, in my opinion. And at 8,500, I will be taking a stab on that. I'm not interested in Fernie Garcia really at all. But But who knows? Another low variance fight. Fernie could absolutely flatline Hiestand. That's never happened. And actually, he has been KO'd in his career. Never mind. But again, a guy with no experience. He's got 7 professional fights. Fernie has 12. I'm picking Hiestand by dirty, greasy wrestling decision. And I probably will have a bunch of him in my lineups for that reason. Like I said, his chance to score triple digit is crazy. Now we're on to the fight where I had to stop my recording because I realized my mic wasn't working. Maria Oliveira going against Vanessa Demopoulos. Straight up, I like Oliveira here, 8,200. Demopoulos, shout out to my guy Lou Betya. Lou Betya told me Demopoulos has landed 1 takedown in her entire UFC career. That is true, 1 out of 12 for a takedown accuracy of 8%, 8.33%. Meanwhile, the takedown defense of Oliveira is just 50%, but she looked decent against Gloria DePaula. She looked okay, actually. Landed 2 takedowns, got taken down twice. Lost to Tabitha Ricci pretty good by unanimous decision. I think Oliveira wins here, but again, this card is not good from a quality point, from like a... I mean, there's some good fights, but we are not seeing like high quality fighters here. I mean, Vanessa Demopoulos, I'm not, she's got 12 pro fights. I don't know really what to say. Neither one scores very well. 2.77 points a minute, 2.36 points a minute for Demopoulos, both averaging 80 per win. I'm not really interested in this fight. Give me Oliveira for the win. I just don't think, I think she can probably stuff Demopoulos' takedowns, but then again, she gave up a ton of takedown points per minute and control time points in both of her fights combined, actually, in her 2 previous fights, I should say. 1.52 points per minute, 1.62 points per minute in takedowns and control time. I'm not a fan of that. I'm picking Oliveira, but if Demopoulos is able to work her ground game, she is likely going to score better than Oliveira. The issue is Demopoulos has never been able to work her ground game, so I don't know if that's a her problem or an opponent problem. Also, these numbers are crazy. According to this, Maria Oliveira has a 3-inch height advantage and a 10-inch reach advantage, guys. 10-inch reach advantage. Is Vanessa even going to be able to get inside to try to take her down here? Give me Oliveira. I'm not excited about this fight for DraftKings, but at 8,200, it's not breaking the bank. She's also $1,000 more expensive than she was in her last fight. Demopoulos, $500 more expensive than she was in her last fight. So we're paying up for this fight either way. So you got to be confident to take a bunch of either of these women, to be completely honest. I mean, straight up, obviously, with this whole late swap bullshit, anything could happen, but we're just talking about straight up here. That's how it's going to stay unless otherwise noted. Just if you are worried about this late swap thing, or if you're excited about it, just move carefully around it and see what happens this week. We'll see what the reaction is. If this is something a ton of people hate, DraftKings could easily reverse it. If this is something a ton of people like, we're likely going to have to fix the way we have been doing things if you want to win tournaments. Like you're going to have to be glued to your computer and TV, have the whole setup going, and figure that out. But that is for another show. I digress. Next fight. Ricky Turcios going against Kevin Natividad. Long story short, I'm picking Turcios here. He looked great against against Brady Hiestand. Who am I thinking of? Oh, I'm thinking of, I must be thinking of someone else. He did not look great against Amin Zahabi. He was $8,800 and he landed 27 strikes, guys, in 15 minutes. That fight was terrible. That was really bad. Amin Zahabi scored 51 points in a decision. But when Turcios won, he beat Brady Hiestand over a year ago and scored 120. So, I mean, I don't know about this fight either, guys. Kevin Natividad is 0-2 in the UFC, 1.13 points a minute. This is terrible. These are terrible numbers. He has no ground game to speak of at all. He doesn't really do anything, in fact, in less than 15 minutes, almost 14 minutes of fight time. All he has done is thrown a very small number of strikes. That is it. He landed 3 strikes against a quick loss over Dana Bakary. He landed 33 strikes against Miles Johns, in which he got knocked out late in the 3rd round. So this guy is not throwing, he's throwing less than 3 strikes a minute. He's getting outpointed everywhere. His strength of schedule is okay, but never mind. Natividad's strength of schedule is terrible, especially compared to Turcios. He's losing almost every category. Trending up, all his opponents trend up at an extremely high rate. Same with Turcios here. Opponents are trending up at just a bit higher of an angle. Natividad has terrible projections, as you would expect. Finish rates here. 2 out of every 3 losses for them ends by way of finish. Yeah, guys, I'm on the Turcios side. At $8,600, that seems like a lot, especially with what happened against Amin Zahabi. But I think Kevin Natividad is probably a step down from Amin Zahabi. Like I said, DraftKings, he's like DraftKings quick. That's funny. That's why I said Quicksand. His nickname is literally Quicksand. I was gonna say he is DraftKings Quicksand. You put him in your lineup, he's just gonna, you know, I don't know how that relates, but it sounded good at the time, guys. He's DraftKings Quicksand. That's a new thing. So be sure to get on that. Start saying that all the time, and it'll be awesome. Long story short, I'm picking Turcios. I'm not happy about it. Natividad doesn't do anything for DraftKings, and we will see what Turcios has, because he looked awful against Amin Zahabi. Absolutely awful. Next fight, Miles Johns going against Vince Morales here. I like Miles Johns here. Again, shout out to my guy Lou Betya. He was talking to me last night about this fight. It doesn't really look good for DraftKings though, guys. 2.28 points a minute for Miles Johns. 77.5 is what he scores when he wins, and 3 UFC wins. 2.11 points for Vince Morales. 77.5 is what he scores when he wins. Neither guy gives up a ton, right around 80 to 85 points. No one here is giving up takedowns and control time, not either person. Johns has never even scored 90 points. He's never allowed 90 points. So again, DraftKings Quicksand, that's a thing now. Vince Morales, 1 out of his 3 wins has gone over 110. Other than that, they've both been under 90. His opponents scoring over 110 in just 1 of his 4 losses. All 3 other fights have been less than 90. There, like I said, no takedowns and control time. This is just going to be a striking match. I'd be shocked if we saw any wrestling. If we did, Miles Johns' takedown defense is 92%, while Vince Morales' takedown defense is 42%. So that should be noted. Both have a decent strength of schedule in their last 5. Let's see, Johns is 3-2, while Morales is 2-3, with losses to Martinez, Gutierrez, and Benito Lopez. Meanwhile, Johns losing to Batista and Castaneda. All these guys they're losing to are decent fighters, except maybe Benito Lopez. We'll hold out for that one. Raw DraftKings points per minute trending up, both guys, but Morales is trending up at a bit of a steeper rate. These projections are very, very low, as you would expect, guys. When you score 2 points a minute and 80 per win, this is what your projections look like. The visual statistical recap is going to go to Miles Johns, but Morales is poking out an average value per win, possibly DraftKings points per win. Yep, just barely. And then bonus points per win, which is huge. For us that play DraftKings. Here are the aggregate professional and UFC career finishing percentages. This is a tough one, guys. Again, very low output. Very, very low output. Morales has made the optimal in 1 out of his past 3 fights. That would have been against Luis Smolka, in which he KO'd him in 2 minutes. Meanwhile, Miles Johns has been finished by KO and by sub by Batista and Castaneda. In fact, both of his losses in the UFC are finishes. So that is interesting here. Morales finishing only 1 of his fights. That was the aforementioned knockout against Luis Smolka. I like Miles Johns here. 8,400. It's not going to break the bank, but I'm just not excited about this scoring, guys. Someone's going to have to come out of their shell here, and I just don't know which one that's going to be. Like I said, I'm picking Miles Johns. I mean, hopefully he could score 90 or 100 points against Morales, but these guys don't allow any points. They don't score any points. This whole fight, what is it with? Say it with me. Is DraftKings Quicksand. Next fight, Jennifer Maia going against Marina Moroz. The underdog here is Maia, 7,200 to 9,000 for Moroz. I like the dog here, 7,200. Again, DraftKings Quicksand, 1.98 points per minute. 72.81 is all she scores when she wins. She has a losing UFC record, 4-5 at the moment in the UFC. Meanwhile, Moroz, 2.5 points a minute, 80 when she wins. Yeah, I'm not, these fights are not great. Not great fights, guys. Maia, 4 wins, only 1 of them. She scored over 100. The rest have been under 90. She doesn't allow any points. Meanwhile, Marina Moroz has scored over 90 in 3 of her fights, 2 of them over 100 and 1 over 110. Both women score less than half a point per minute. Actually, Moroz is just over half a point per minute in takedowns and control time. Maia does allow 1 point per minute in those 2 categories. Both women allow more points in takedowns and control time than they score. That is the point here. Neither one scores very well, which tells me that this is probably going to be a striking match. If I had to gun to my head, if I had to say what this fight would entail, a bunch of striking. That's probably what it's going to entail. I think it goes to decision. and I think the winner scores 70, 80 points. I'm not interested in that unless it's on the Jennifer Maia side because her salary, guys, is so low. So I don't know how I'm going to get to any of Marina Moroz, to be completely honest. She subbed Agapova, decision against Silva in which she scored, I guess she did score okay, 111 in that one. Decision against Sabina Mazo in which she's only scored 73. Wow, actually in Moroz's last two fights, she scored 111 and 107. So that is interesting. I would think she's finish dependent, but Myra Bueno Silva proved me wrong there. Jennifer Maia is probably a bit better, I would think, than Myra Bueno Silva. But she has dropped 3 out of her last 5. However, those opponents were Valentina Shevchenko, Caitlin Chukagian, and Manon Fiorot, 3 of the top in the division, as you well know. She smashed up Joanne Wood, and she beat Jessica Ai, although that was way closer than it should have been. And yeah, that was not a good fight for Jennifer Maia. Here are my projections. DraftKings visual statistical recap, and then the aggregate professional and UFC finishing percentages. Long story short, I don't like this fight. I think Moroz is way too expensive for what you're likely going to get from her. Like I said, this is probably going to be a 3-round striking battle, in which case, not emphasis on the word battle there, might be a little sarcastic, but I think the winner scores 70 to 80 points, and I'm not really interested in that, except, like I said, from the Maia side at 7,200. You can easily get to that big underdog here, and that is the side I will be picking, and that is the side I will be rostering as well. A bit of Moroz, but she was at 24% ownership yesterday, I think. I'll be under that, likely. Oh, the man the judges love to hate, Zhalgas Zhumagulov, who is still fighting in the UFC, even though he's 1-4 in the promotion, going against Charles Johnson, the guy that lost his UFC debut to Muhammad Mokaev. 7,500 for Zhumagulov, 8,700 for Charles Johnson. This guy scores 1.16 points a minute against Mokaev is what he put up. Zhumagulov, 2.52 a minute and 94.36 per win. I mean, Johnson allowed 6 points a minute against Mokaev. He's $2,000 over his average salary. I can't even believe that's a real number. Obviously with one fight it is easy to do that, but this is pretty ridiculous. He allowed over 5.5 points a minute and takedowns and control time. Meanwhile, Zhalgas scores 0.75 points a minute in those two categories. This fight is bad, guys. This card is not good. It's not good. Yeah. I mean, these stats are not good. Strength of schedule for Charles Johnson is far less than Zhalgas Zhumagulov, at least in 2 of the categories. Zhumagulov, like I said, 1-4 in the promotion, losses to Paiva, Albazi, Manel Kopp, and Jeff Molina. Beat Jerome Rivera by sub. And then Charles Johnson, as I said, lost to Muhammad Mokaev. Here are my projections. I'm picking Zhumagulov, I guess. I don't know how I am picking Zhumagulov, but I guess I am. Charles Johnson probably has a path to victory here, especially if it gets to decision, because like I said, the judges hate Zhumagulov for some reason. But I guess Charles Johnson, if you do MMA math, survived against Muhammad Mokaev, so he could possibly do something here. Okay, here's a number. Johnson is 5'11", Zhumagulov is 5'4". So that's a huge mismatch there. He also has 4.5 inches of reach. Does Johnson over Zhumagulov. Oh, this fight sucks, dude. It sucks. I think Zhumagulov's going to win, but if it goes to the judges, I'm picking Charles Johnson. How's that? As far as DraftKings, 8,700 is way too much for Charles Johnson. I mean, how would he score well? He'd have to land a ton of takedowns and control time or knock out Zhumagulov. I guess he could finish Zhumagulov standing, but oh god, I guess I'm going to have to play a bit of Charles Johnson and maybe some Zhalgas, but I'm not happy. Here's a guy that I will be smashing in my lineups a ton. Jack Della Maddalena. I don't care if he's 9,600 this week. He should murder Danny Roberts, Mr. Hot Chocolate at 6,600. I love Maddalena. He scores 8 points a minute, 112 when he wins. Roberts, meanwhile, gives up 3.25 and 96 when he loses. Maddalena smashed Ramazan Ameev in the first round, smashed Pete Rodriguez, dead game in the first round. Roberts lost to Francisco Trinaldo in his last fight, and this was in the year 2022. He beat also Ramazan Ameev, lost to Michel Pereira and Claudio Silva. Let's see, allows well over 1.25 points per minute in takedowns and control time. Jack Della is not interested in that. He is a striker, obviously, and that's how I think this one is going to go. You are paying $900 over his average salary for Maddalena. I think it's worth it in this case. I think he's going to beat up Danny Roberts pretty good and finish him probably in the first round. Roberts is $1,600 under his average salary if you are interested in him. He is 7-5 in the UFC, so does have a winning record. I like Maddalena here. It's one of the one smash spots on this entire card. His ownership already was over 53%. I'm going to have to go like 80 or 90, honestly, on this one. Whether you're playing cash or GPPs, there's no 9,500, there's no 9,400, there's now no 9,300. So you can get away with playing a 9,600 and still have room for some of these other, guys that aren't all complete dogs. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. I'll be having Jack Della Maddalena in a ton of my lineups. And that's how it's going to go over Danny Roberts. Not much else to say about that one. I don't think 9,600 should scare you off this week. Go ahead and play Jack Della Maddalena. Next fight. Another fight I think you could probably get to easily, and you should. Muslim Salikhov going against Andre Fiallo. Excuse me. Have a hiccup there. The king of Kung Fu himself did not look great against Jingling Li, but 8,300 is what he cost this week. 2.15 per minute is all he scores. 78 per win. His DraftKings, his defensive pace rather, is the best on the card. 1.63 points a minute is all he allows. Fiallo, on the other hand, 2.26 a minute is all he scores. 109. So he is very heavily finish reliant in order to achieve this big score here. That's what you see with a very low raw DraftKings points per minute and a very large DKP per win. It means he's out here finishing wins, I should say. He did just get finished badly against Jake Matthews. He has lost to Michel Pereira in the past, beat Miguel Baeza and Cameron Van Camp, who is not a good fighter. Meanwhile, Salikhov with wins over Taleb, Staropoli, Zaleski Dos Santos, and Francisco Trinaldo, losing to Li Jinglang. Strength of schedule is going to be all Salikhov here. Let's see, what does he land in takedowns and control time? Almost half a point per minute. But nobody's really doing it. I mean, maybe he'll go for that here, but I think we're going to see a stand-up battle. I personally think someone's getting finished in this one. I'm hoping Salikhov gets the win here, but he doesn't. Honestly, he's only finished 2 fights in the UFC. Let's see if I can see him here. He did finish Talib KO first round 104.06, so that is a good look. I don't know if Fiallo's going to get finished in the first, but he has shown to slow down tremendously, and if he can't get anything going, he kind of looks dead in there, to be honest. So I'm picking Salikhov at 8,300. I think it's a good price. I think he can finish Fiallo, but if this goes to decision, guys, we're looking at like 60-point, 70-point winner. So this could be very ugly, to be honest. So I'm really hoping for a finish here. I will have a bit of both, but as of yesterday, there's more ownership on Fiallo. I'll be the opposite. I'll have more ownership on Salikhov at 8,300. That's not breaking the bank at all, and that is how I'll be looking to play it. Next fight, Chase Sherman. How do we keep talking about this guy, man? Chase Sherman. Excuse me, going against Cortes-Acosta, who just fought like 3 weeks ago and won a decision against Jared Vanderaa. Meanwhile, Chase Sherman won against both these guys. Their last fights were against Jared Vanderaa, and they both won. Sherman finished him, while Cortes-Acosta did not. But then Sherman, that's his only win in his past 5, losing to Arlovsky, Parker Porter, Jake Collier, and Alexander Romanov. I mean, who do we pick? I think Cortes-Acosta is probably going to win, but he's not great, and he's $9,100. This guy is unplayable, in my opinion. I think you have to play Chase Sherman. 3 points a minute. Say what you want about him, 102.23 points per win. He does have 4 UFC wins, but he also has 9 UFC losses, guys. So don't forget, this is like his second or third stint in the UFC. He was only brought back to face Alexander Romanov that week, in which he was a minus 2,100, a plus like 16 or 1,400 dog. What was he? 1050, I guess. Romanov was minus 2,100. But Chase Sherman is $7,100 this week. I'll have him in plenty more lineups than I will Cortes-Acosta at 91. That's basically unreachable. Cortes-Acosta scored less than 60 points in his win against Jared Vanderaa, guys. Not impressed at all. And is Chase Sherman worse than Jared Vanderaa? I don't think he's good, but I don't think he's worse than Jared Vanderaa. In fact, he beat Jared Vanderaa, as we just said. So I'm taking Chase Sherman here at 7,100. I mean, I'm not going to say that's a steal, but I think that's the best bet on this fight is Chase Sherman. Go over in your lineups on him. I mean, this could be a greasy decision, or this could be a Chase Sherman finish, in my opinion. But then again, Cortes-Acosta never been finished. He only has 8 professional fights. Man, this fight could be terrible. This could really backfire, but I'm going low on Cortes-Acosta, and I'm going a bit higher than the field on Chase Sherman. Like I said, it could backfire, but I mean, if Sherman gets a finish here at 7,100, he's going to make the optimal lineup. Next fight, co-main event. Ian Cutelaba just got viciously KO'd. Pretty sure it was. Oh, no, he got subbed. Never mind. He got subbed by Walker. He's been subbed in his last 2 fights, so I don't have a problem with him fighting 2 months later. 7,400 for Ian Cutelaba going against Kennedy and Nzechukwu, or Chukwu, I guess is how you pronounce it. Don't say the N. 2.59 points a minute for Nzechukwu. 81.73 is all he scores. He has wins over Olberg, Danilo Marquez, and Carl Roberson. Losses to Nicky Gums and Da-Un Jung. Meanwhile, Cutelaba has 1 win in his past 5 fights, and that is Devin Clark. Lost to Ankalaev. Draw against Jacoby, which is okay. Ryan Spann, he lost to, and Johnny Walker, he also lost to. The thing about Kennedy is he has no submissions. He has no submissions on his record, so Ian should be able to sleep soundly at night, knowing he's probably not going to get subbed here. Cutelaba scores very well, 4.23 points a minute, 110 per win. The problem is he doesn't win. Guys, he doesn't win. He's only 28 years old. He's 5-7-1 in the UFC. He just does not get it done. I have a beard hair on top of my head. That is very strange. Yeah, but he is almost $900 cheaper than his average. Meanwhile, Kennedy is $700 over his average. What are we doing here? Very high ownerships projected as this is yesterday's number, so these are likely not accurate anymore. But the ownership is coming in on Kennedy compared to Ian, but Ian is 26% owned at 7,400. I don't mind that, but like I said, he doesn't get wins. So he scores very well when he wins, but that doesn't happen. It's very rare these days. I mean, he scores almost 2 points a minute in takedowns and control time. Kennedy is susceptible to takedowns and control time, 0.86 points per minute he's given up. Very good strength of schedule for Kennedy in his last 5. Both fighters trending up. Cutelaba trending up at a higher rate while his opponents trend down. I don't even know how that's possible with his past 5 fights, but I guess it is. And then the aggregate professional and career finishing percentages. There you go. Oh, the projections I just blazed over real quick. As far as picking this fight, can you pick Ian Cutelaba? Can you? I think you can, but that's tough. I mean, he could get KO'd by Kennedy. This is probably going to go to decision, I'm thinking, the longer I look at it. Cutelaba's main kryptonite are submissions, and Kennedy is not subbing anyone. That would be an interesting line, though. Kennedy by submission. Go see what your book is put out on Kennedy by submission, and if it's over plus 1,000, take a stab on that, is what I would do for sure. You put your arms on Cutelaba, he starts to tap. So see what Kennedy by sub is. I know he has no subs in his career, but just go look what it is. If it's over plus 1,000, which I think it would have to be, I would think about putting a stab on that. For DraftKings, though, Cutelaba at 7,400 sounds like a good deal, but guys, he doesn't win. He doesn't win. And if this goes to decision, I mean, he does score 96 per decision win. I'm going to be under on this fight as a whole. I'm going to be under on it. That's how I'm going to play it. All I can do is show you the stats, and you guys make up your own mind. I guess the pick would probably be. I'm so bad with Ian Cutelaba fights. I'll pick Cutelaba. I don't know why. I just have a feeling. I don't know why I'm picking him. Go under on this fight. That would be my opinion. I don't know what to do about this one. Oh my god. Here's one I do know what to do about. How you say that? Derrick Lewis going against Sergey Spivak. Main event of the evening, guys. Half an hour in. Be sure to hit that sub button down below. And in just a minute, we'll go over CM Monk's picks and projections. Derrick Lewis, 7K against Sergey Spivak, 9,200. I'm going with a ton of Spivak here. I'm probably going 100% of this fight. In 20 maxes, I'll probably go 80% Spivak, 20% Lewis, something like that, 85-15, something like that there. Lewis scores very poorly, less than 2 points a minute, 81.83 per win. He's just not getting it done anymore. He has lost 3 of his last 5. Sergey Pavlovich finished him in under a minute. Tai Tuivasa, that was brutal. Cyril Gane, I mean, took 3 rounds, but absolutely pieced him up for all, like, what, 12, 14 of those minutes. Lewis did beat Blades and Chris Daukaus. Very good strength of schedule for Lewis, probably the best on the entire card, while Sergey, being above 70 in every category, still, you know, when compared to Lewis, is not great at all. Sergey, here's the kryptonite for Lewis. Spivak, over 2 points per minute, well over 2.07 points per minute. Takedowns and control time, Derrick Lewis is giving up almost 1.25 in those 2 categories. Spivak is the best DraftKings scorer on the card, has made the optimal lineup in 3 out of his past 5 fights, 4.31 points per minute and 113 per win, guys. I'm going to have a ton of Spivak here, like I said, 80-20 probably, but I will have some Derrick Lewis as well. The percentages for Lewis are way too high, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, if he finishes Spivak with a random punch in the first round, he's making every single optimal lineup at $7,000, and I'll look like an idiot. But trends do not say that. Trends say that Lewis is nearing the end of his fighting career, and that Spivak at 10 years younger, while he will have to watch out for the one big shot from Lewis, the power is the last thing to go, he should be able to control Lewis. I would think he could land a takedown and maybe even ground and pound for the win here. So I'm going with Spivak. You are paying up for him $1,000. You get Derrick Lewis $800 off of his usual price. Like I said, I'll be 100% on this fight. More Spivak than Lewis, 80-20, 75-25, something like that. So give me Spivak for the win at 9,200. I'm going to have a ton of lineups probably with let's start with Maddalena and Sergey Spivak. So that's probably going to be a few lineups for me there. In fact, on the DraftKings show tonight, I will likely have those 2 in my lineup. So check that out. Guys, that is going to do it. All 12 fights broken down from a DraftKings perspective. You can go back, look at all the stats. You can check out my stats on Patreon before we get out of here. As promised, here are CM Monk's picks and projections. We'll start from the bottom here. Teresa Bleda, underdog pick over Natalia Silva. We got Brady Hiestand by decision over Fernie Garcia. We've got Vanessa Demopoulos over Maria Oliveira, underdog pick by decision. We've got Ricky Turcios by decision over Kevin Natividad. We've got Miles Johns finish over Vince Morales. We've got Marina Moroz decision win over Jennifer Maia. We've got the upset here, Zalga Zhumagulov by decision. I like this pick against Charles Johnson. We've got Jack Della Maddalena smashing Danny Roberts by finish. We've got Muslim Salikhov smashing Andre Fiallo by finish. We've got Waldo Cortes-Acosta finishing Chase Sherman. I don't know if I agree with that one. We've got Kennedy Chukwu finishing Ian Cutelaba. That one could easily happen. And then lastly, we've got Sergey Spivak, the favorite, finishing Derrick Lewis inside the distance. These are Computer Monk's picks, and that is going to do it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to Game Theory, the #1 DraftKings prep show in all of the land. And we will see you next week for, actually, we have a week off. A week after that, I believe, is December 3rd. We have UFC Orlando, so be sure it's like one of the last, I think it's the third to last fight. We have 4 cards left. This is one of them. So, yeah. We're getting down to the end of the year, guys. So let's get some tournament takedowns before, right before Christmas. We could all use it. As usual, I want all of you to enjoy the fight. So enjoy, and we will see you in the next one.